Welcome to another episode of the Finding Serenity in the Midst of Chaos podcast. Today, we're talking about how to integrate yoga practice into your daily routine. This episode is especially for you if you're the kind of person who always wanted to use yoga to support your health and well-being, but felt like too much of a beginner to try it. Who's interested in a holistic perspective when it comes to your health and wellness, but isn't sure what it means exactly. And you feel like there is not enough time in the day for anything else, yet let alone yoga. Stay tuned because by the end of this episode, you will gain a better understanding on how to start a yoga practice and fold it into your daily routine. You'll understand what it means to attend your health in an integrated and holistic way, and you will learn how to seamlessly integrate yoga practice into your busy life. And I don't know about you, but I am definitely excited for this episode. And today, without further ado, I would like to welcome our guest today, Sara Rose. Hi, Sara Rose. How are you?
Hi, Tule. I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm marvelous. Thank you very much.
Good.
I'm so excited to have you today. Our guest experts episodes are really flying off the shelves, literally. And today is a really, great way, as we spoke in offline before. It is not just about movement, not just about yoga, but our all full holistic health and well-being. And we are both very aligned in that area. So I cannot wait for our listeners to hear what you have to say. But before that, please tell us who you are, what you do, and who you help, please.
Thank you so much, Tule. My name is Sara Rose Goldfried, and I'm a yoga instructor and also a health and wellness coach. And I also work with energy. And really, who I help is, I guess, anyone and everyone, and most specifically and more specifically as of late, it's been working with women with their transformations and their journeys from being stuck to finding a life that really feels like their own and feeling authentic and purposeful and living in a way where there's a lot of meaning.
Mm.
So I guess that would answer that question. Did I get everything on that?
Well, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
It makes a lot of sense to me. But how did it all start with yoga? Just tell us a little
Yes.
bit about that.
Yes, the journey actually did begin with yoga back in 2000, which is some time ago. And
Yes.
my friend had asked me to take a yoga class with her, and it was
Okay.
emerging on the scene here. And I said, sure, that sounds great. I think it was just January. And I stepped into class and onto the mat and immediately felt synergy and felt like I was home. Less than 6 months later, I was in Mexico on my first teacher training retreat to receive my 200-hour certification. And then from there, just continued on with various advanced certifications and different trainings and just exploring my own practice because as a yoga instructor, that is a huge component of um, the practice of teaching is your own
Mm.
self-study.
Yes, I
So
mean,
that is how
it definitely sounds like love at first sight. Yeah.
oh my gosh, it felt like coming home. It was one of those experiences that just felt, it was brand new, but felt so familiar.
Hmm. Okay, can you maybe tell our listeners about the benefits of yoga to our body and our
Yeah.
mind, I'm gonna say, because I know that there's more than one dimensional element,
Yes.
benefits of yoga.
Yes. I think what is so captivating and powerful about the practice of yoga is that it ties it all in together. The
Mhm.
word yoga means to yoke, and that means a union. And so, therefore, it will be a union of the mind, the body, the spirit. You can substitute any words that feel right and comfortable to
Mhm.
you. But because of that integration, it becomes a really powerful practice. The physical practice makes sense to us because we're improving our agility and our mobility, and we're getting into the joints, the muscles, the fascia, the tissues, the circulation, and all the systems of the body. But because it's all linked together, we end up receiving so many more benefits than just the physical benefits. And I feel like that's why after a yoga class, so many say, I feel different. I feel so much better. I feel less stressed. I'm sleeping better. My digestion is better. I feel calmer. on and on and on.
Yeah, no, that I can definitely relate to that myself. I've been exercising daily, 5 days a week, since I'd given my birth to my daughter, who is now 8. And I
Oh,
haven't missed a day unless I was on holiday or I was poorly, whatever. And it was all about that hip training and bit of
yeah.
strength training. But nowadays, I'm just reducing that to 3 times a day strength training and replacing the other 2 days with some sort of yoga or stretching, because I
Mm-hmm.
do find my body needs that more. And then I
Mm-hmm.
do it, even if it's just like a foam rolling or whatever it might
Yeah.
be. I just feel like a newborn, literally,
I
after.
know. I
It
like
just,
you've
it's
gotten a massage or something.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. I find that, and I'm actually craving for it, which is a great thing, right? Every
Mm-hmm.
morning, I just cannot get out of bed and not do exercise anymore because it's
Oh,
just how I built that into my day. But
yeah.
I know that the listener, most of our watchers and listeners are busy people. They work
Yes.
full time, they have kids running around, but how do they integrate yoga into their daily
Yes.
life? Yeah.
That's a really good question. I want to take a moment and just reflect upon what you were just saying, that you were doing HIIT workouts and intense workouts, and then intuitively you put yourself into balance by adding in a couple of days of yoga or stretching or foam rolling.
Mm.
Because when we think of our health and well-being, whatever we are most dominant, and if we have a stressful life or we're very busy and it's very fast paced, and then we add on HIIT workouts and weighted workouts, and believe me, I do those too. And I absolutely need them and I love them. They're a lot of fun for me. But then we're just increasing this dominance of intensity. And
Yeah.
so in order to be in balance, we really need the other side of it. And so yoga is great because it offers that for us.
Yeah.
Those of your listeners that are really busy, and I've been in that place so many times myself where I felt like I wanted to make changes or add something in, and I could not figure out where the time would, where will I fit this in? How is this going to work out?
Yeah.
What I would say is to start to, I use the word integrate it with something else that you're doing. Sounds like you do it in the morning. This is
Mm.
sort of your morning routine of your exercises there. So we can have it stacked that way and take a workout time that we typically are used to, and then add in 2 minutes of stretching or
Mm.
yoga. And that might be one or two poses. We could also set an alarm for ourselves and say, okay, midday, I'm doing just some side bending stretches and some twisting of my spine. I think we always want to go to the full thing that we see
Yeah.
out there. I'm going to take a yoga class. It's going to be 90 minutes and I've got the mat and I'm going to the studio, and it doesn't have to be that grand in
Yeah.
order for it to be really impactful.
Mm.
Yoga itself is not solely about the poses. There's something called the 8 limbs of yoga, and the actual asana, the poses, fall down. I think it's third or fourth on that list of 8.
Mm.
Yoga as a whole really means awareness. It means being present. And so we can also have a practice of yoga that looks like presencing ourselves by taking a few deep breaths. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a physical shape, although it's great because we get the benefits. It feels so good. We're
Right.
sitting, we're driving, we're commuting, all of the
Mm.
things. But we can access a yoga practice by taking a pause at our desk during the workday and
Mm.
taking 5 box breaths, which are even breaths where we inhale for 4, for example, hold the breath for 4,
Mm.
exhale for 4, and then hold out. And we'd be practicing yoga that way.
That's amazing. And as you were saying, there's a couple of things that came to my mind. How I integrate sometimes is that, if I really want to do my strength training, which I do, in the evenings, I feel like sometimes I'm still wanting to stretch, but my evenings is just sitting down and maybe watching a nice program that I look forward to. What I do, I put the mat down while I'm watching. I'm sitting in a pigeon pose and I'm doing my side stretch. And in that way, I can do two things at once without
Yes.
feeling like I'm rushing around. I
Yeah.
get the benefit of both, and actually helps you sleep better when you do
Yes.
those stretches at
Yes.
night.
At night, it does help down regulate the nervous system. I
Mm.
love that you mentioned watching shows and stretching because I do that all the time
Oh my God.
because it's just relaxing and I unwind. It's the time of day and it ends up being a little bit of, dessert, if you will. I have a tendency to love a snack while I'm watching TV. And so that is one way that I substitute something else in place if I feel
Perfect.
like I need to do something and it's of real benefit where I
Yeah, with
stretch
another,
rather
yeah,
than snacking.
sure. With another expert episode, we talked about people coming home and hitting the alcohol, hitting the glass of, glass and a bottle of wine every evening. And so if you want to replace that habit with something else, stretching whilst you're
Mhm.
watching something is one of the best ways to do that. And the other thing that came to my mind as we were again talking offline, today I felt a little bit anxious. I'm not really an anxious person, but I wasn't even aware. It wasn't like in my mind. And as my husband was driving the kids to school, I was in the car. I felt like I wanted to twitch all the time. I was like, he asked me, "Why are you so stressed?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I just can't put my finger on it." Then after the kids drop off, I went for a walk and start to think about what could it be causing this. And I obviously clicked and I realized what was causing it. Then I literally shake my hands, shaking my body, doing a slightly faster walk whilst I shed some tears. And I just thought, I must find a tree to touch. I'm going to touch a tree right now.
I love
And
that.
I actually found that tree, touched it, and actually imagined the energy, like the nervous energy from my hands transferring to the tree and then to the earth. And I just felt like instantly better after that.
Oh, I love that. I literally just got the chills listening to that. I love that you were just following, right? Your inner guide of just I'm going to touch the tree and I'm doing this visualization and you didn't overthink it. So often, myself included, we can overthink things and the words that come to me are kind of just choke the magic of the intuition out of it.
Mm.
And it sounds like you feel better from your walk and the shaking and the
Yeah.
tree and the visualization.
I definitely feel so much better. And, you know, a few years ago, I wouldn't have been able to do this. One, because I wasn't aware of half the stuff we talked about. And two, because I would just wouldn't be even aware that I am anxious or nervous or whatever. I just go through my day being angry, being kind of like that, and not really be aware any of that. But of course, the whole practice of this exercise and personal development and it just kind of increases your self-awareness and then
Yes,
when you know that something is bothering you, you're feeling anxious out of the ordinary, instead of feeding the anxious thoughts,
right.
it's good to just take a step back. And you said earlier, it doesn't have to take so much out of your day. You can just sit in your desk and literally breathe for a couple of minutes.
That's
And in
right.
fact, as soon as my husband asked, "Why are you so nervous?" I literally felt myself taking a deep breath. I don't know why I'm nervous, but I'm going to find out and I'm going to deal with it, as opposed to just keep feeding and feeling then the guilt and the shame that comes with it, isn't it? Why am I feeling
Yeah.
like this? And
Yeah.
then you just kind of, transfer it to other people who are
Right.
by your side, right? And that's what I
Yeah.
used to do. But
Yeah.
I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want our listeners to do that because there is
Yes.
different ways to look after yourself without
Yes.
having to, we know that there's 200 emails waiting in your inbox. We know that the boss is waiting for your attention whilst the kids are screaming on the other side and do whatever. But all of this is doable and you don't have to do it all at the same time, whatever, but it is possible
It is
because,
possible. I love that you mentioned putting yourself back in the driver's seat of your well-being, that there was something that you could offer to yourself. And maybe in another time in your life, you weren't able to do that. I know that rings true for me,
mm,
that awareness. But what I loved is your walk with the movement, right? You were moving,
yes,
you were breathing, you were aware and present, and and that was a yoga practice. And
yeah,
it didn't look like the yoga practice that we're familiar with on the mat and triangle and sun salutations. And while that all has a place and a time and it's really valuable and great, it doesn't always have to be that. And
mm,
when we get to that always and should, it puts parameters and limitations on our ability to offer ourselves, for example, a yoga practice. But all what you did today on your walk had all the components of a yoga practice.
yeah. And just to reiterate the point for the benefit of our listeners, how is this different to going to the gym, for example? Because in both cases, you may be moving your body or you're exercising, as it were.
That that is such a good question. I think your gym workout could be like your yoga practice, but it needs the integrated element of being present, being connected with your body, and being connected with your breath. I think when we lose the component of presence and actively putting ourselves in uncomfortable situations, because in a way, the yoga practice offers us the arena to be a little bit uncomfortable. It's a different teacher. We don't know what they're saying. The shape seems out of your physical realm, or you're just unfamiliar. Sometimes there is discomfort in the body, and you're not sure if it's pain or if it's just sort of expansion. And our ability to tell ourselves and work with the nervous system, okay, this is pain or discomfort that has a purpose, and I can maintain governance and, I guess, control, right, without that kick of now I've just kind of spiraled, is really powerful. And that's what differs between, I would say, going to the gym. But I will also say, for those that don't have a lot of time and that have to make that choice between a gym workout and a yoga workout or practice, you can just take those elements from yoga and bring them into your gym workout.
That's amazing. That's really good. And I guess, as you kind of alluded to at the beginning, if you're going away from the home into a gym, then your brain starts to bring out those barriers. Oh, I don't have time, or it's raining, or it's this, or it's 90 minutes, I can't do it, and whatever. Whereas, but what I also really like is the presence and mind-body connection. Even when you're exercising, if your mind is elsewhere and overthinking, then you're not going to probably benefit from the exercise anyway, not much. Versus if you are present and if you're making the brain to muscle connection, mind-body connection, it's going to make so much difference to you, even if it's a short time. So
That's right.
yeah, and with the habit stacking and everything, it's a easy way to integrate. And I guess the easier we make it for our brain, the better it will be, because then we can really integrate it to our day, isn't it?
Yes, yes. The least resistant path is always
That's
the
right.
best one to go for.
I
I
know.
totally agree.
Sarah Rose, thank you so much. I just, before we finish off, where can our listeners and watchers find you?
I would recommend going to my website, which is sararosewellness.com. And then on the website, there are links to social if people engage with social and they prefer it that way.
Yeah, sure. Wonderful. Thank you so much for talking to us today.
Yes.
I really enjoyed this conversation.
Oh,
I hope everyone else did too. If you, listeners and watchers, if you enjoyed these conversations as much as we did, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking the button below. Plus, share this episode with someone you know who's going to benefit from this, because then we can help more people together. And we will see you in another episode next week. Thank you.
bye.